Hello, welcome to Ashland University. I'm Chef Kevin Burke. We're here cooking for the holidays. We're going to do the hints and how-tos. We're going to start with chiffonade of basil, and then we're going to show you how to make a very common herb, rosemary. We're going to make it more edible. We're going to do an oblique of carrots, and then we're going to do the prepping of a pepper, basically showing you the principles of prep. I'm going to also show you the quartering a mushroom versus slicing a mushroom and why we do that. We're going to do a julienne of onion, which will go into our little hors d'oeuvre that we're doing. Okay, our first thing we're going to do is a chiffonade of basil. This is something that most chefs know and use every day, but a lot of people at home don't know. What you do is you stack the basil and you roll it. And then real easily you do like a very, very thin, fine julienne is what we call it. And if it makes a noise, you know your knife's not sharp enough, and it's not making a noise, so it's sharp enough. And this we use in all, like pastas, things like that, on top of hors d'oeuvres. There's ways you can actually fry this, and it looks like it's almost like plastic, and it makes a nice shiny presentation to put on top of things. It's basil is probably one of our more common fresh herbs that we use here. It's really good with tomato on top of tomato mozzarella, so we use this quite a bit. Put this over there. Next, we're going to do rosemary. We're going to do this little trick that we do that I use a lot, because I really don't like I love rosemary, but I don't like the texture of it. It's like a pine tree. So what I do is I take the leaves, little things off it, and I have this little processor that grinds. I use it for grinding herbs. It basically will powder just about anything, and you can do it. You can use it for coffee beans, and you can also use it as a regular processor, and like puree things, stuff like that. It's a nice little, because it's small and compact, easy to use. Now what we do is I take coarse sea salt. This is pink Himalayan sea salt. You can get it at TJ Maxx or anywhere anymore, and it's not really that expensive anymore. And what you do is you take enough, that's probably about a tablespoon in there, and you can put any other herbs in, like if you want to put your black peppercorns, or you want to put coriander seeds or anything like that in here, you can do that at the same time. You can put your garlic in here, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to put it on grind. So what we're doing is we're getting it to almost like a powdery consistency, and the salt acts as like almost like a grinder. Here we go. This is what it becomes. This can be used with potatoes. It can be used on anything that rosemary is normally used on. And you see, it's nice. It's like a powder, and you don't have that pine tree kind of texture. And you just have to watch that you are adding salt. So you just adjust your salt when you add your seasoning, because you don't want to oversalt. Okay, our next hint and how-to is an oblique carrot. What you have to do first is peel it, if your peeler works. There you go. And it's real quick. Peel it, and then cut the end off. And then what you do is you take your knife, like about a 45-degree angle, and you just start going like this. You turn a quarter of a turn and cut through that. It's called a roll cut or an oblique cut. Most chefs have known that, if you go to like culinary school or you've cooked it for long enough in the business, you learn the oblique cut and it's almost exclusively with carrots, maybe parsnips, and really anything that is oblong. You can see how, and it just has like a nugget consistency, and it just makes it more interesting. And if you take this and basically reduce it with butter and some stock and some honey, you got a beautiful glazed carrots. For our next act, we're going to show you what I call principles of prep. When you're doing prep, you want to go as fast as you can, obviously, and keep it safe, but you want to do it efficiently. So what we're doing is, I'm going to show you using a pepper what I mean. If there's 50 of these, you don't cut it down to dice to brunoise, if you will. That's what we're gonna make out of this is brunoise, which is a eighth by an eighth cube. But you do it in stages and not all at once. What you do is you would cut the ends off. Then you would do all 50 that way. Then you would do this to 50 peppers. And stack it. Then you would turn all 50 of these into julienne peppers, which is an eighth by an eighth by an eighth by about roughly 2 inches long. Then you stack them, 50 peppers worth, do them in little stacks, and then you brunoise them. Very, very small diced pepper. Today, the next thing is, I'm going to show you a julienne red onion. We use red onions for a lot of reasons. One, they're sweeter. Two, they look nicer. They add color. You peel it. What I do is I take out the inside core. So I can get a nice julienne. One of the reasons why I'm showing you this is we're going to use this in our little hors d'oeuvre we're going to make. We're going to make a onion confit is what we call it. But this is, what I do is about an eighth of an inch thick. Actually, yeah, there you go. And see how I went with the motion. I didn't do this because I don't want that. Okay. You just go that way. You have as much as you can. You have very thin sticks, basically. You can take these out if you don't want them. The inside piece. I try to get most of that out because it just looks nicer. Okay, and then we have, that's the julienne of onion. We'll set these aside so that we can use them in our onion confit later. Our next little demo here, little how-to, is just real simple, and it may seem obvious to some, but so many people like the taste of mushrooms, but they don't like the texture of them when they eat them. They're slimy, they say. So what we try to do, whenever possible, is we try to do what we call pie piece them or quarter them, whatever the case may be. And the first thing you do You don't have to take out the stem like this. All you got to do is cut it flush with the top. And then what you do is just cut it into like chunks, pie pieces. These will become about a third of their size because they're about 75% roughly of water. And when they cook, they come down into almost like, it almost reminds you of like a beef consistency. And so many people I've seen, they'll eat this and say, wow, that tastes pretty good. Because all along it was the sliminess that they didn't like and not the flavor. So this versus that. Once this cooks down, it cooks down to nothing, and it's like slimy. And that's what a lot of people don't like about it. That's why we tend to do this instead. This is a little bit more time consuming, but it's so much better. Okay, our next item is, I'm going to show you an hors d'oeuvre that we do using the onion confit that we julienne the onions for. There's different parts of this hors d'oeuvre. You have the slice of bread seasoned and baked to a crisp, what we call crostini. Then you put a little bit of pot roast on it, top it with onion confit and blue cheese. So let me go and show you. I'll slice the crostini. This is just like a Parisienne loaf of bread. Then take the bread, put it on a sheet pan, sprinkle with a little bit of olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. And you can use any blend of oil. And then a little salt, pepper. You can use any kind of seasoning for this. You can use like Montreal seasoning kind of stuff. You know, anything that that you like. And then this goes in the oven. While that's in the oven, we can do our onion confit. Some people refer to this as onion jam. Onion confit confit just means to preserve in French, conserve or preserve. And it becomes like a jam. You can use it in so many things, in sandwiches. We use it a lot on hors d'oeuvres to complement beef, pork, you name it, whatever. It's it's a multiple use, almost like condiment. So what I'll do is, to make this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna saute julienne onions. You want to get your pan jumping hot. As hot as you can. And then what you want to do is put them in there. I'm going to saute them. Salt. When you put salt in something, when you're going to saute it, it definitely helps bring out the proteins and the little amino acids and stuff in whatever you're cooking, and helps brown and helps the flavor. So what we're doing is we're just letting that go. We're just that would go for about maybe a couple minutes. Then you put in red wine, red wine vinegar, then we add sugar, and we allow that to cook down, reduce almost to dry. And we'll just let that And then basically what we wind up with is this, basically an onion jam. That will go on top of our pot roast and then covered with the blue cheese crumbles. Now we remove the crostini. As you can see, they're golden brown from the oven. You want them to be like that. You don't want them to be soft. You want them to have a nice crisp to them, almost like they pulverize when you try to crumble them. So then what you do is, this is basically pot roast that we've made for the holidays, you know, for our magical pot roast dinner, right? What we're trying to get across here is you can use things that you've had for the holidays to make, you know, entertain with them. Whether you call it unused portions or leftovers. But what I like to do is plan them so I could use the thing, so it's things I can use later, that I know that I can use them later to make other things. And this is a pretty popular one. Okay, what we do is take a little bit of that onion confit. This is also used, you can chop it up, mix it with apples, and make little tartlets out of it. We've done all kinds of things. This is a very multi-use kind of thing. Okay. And then top it with a bit of crumbled blue cheese. If you don't like blue cheese, you can use feta. You can use anything you want. You can serve it just like this, or you can warm it a little bit. It's very diverse, very flexible. I hope you enjoyed what we presented today. I hope you tune in again for our next video. I'm Chef Kevin Burke from AU Kitchen.